What if I told you that the universe doesn't exist without you? It may sound like a bold idea, but this is the foundation of one of the most fascinating theories ever proposed by a physicist. John Wheeler, one of the greatest names in 20th century science, believed that the cosmos was not merely an indifferent machine functioning on its own. For him, the universe exists only because you, the observer, interact with it. Imagine that for a moment. Every choice you make, every glance you cast somehow helps shape reality. This isn't just metaphorical. This idea is supported by experiments that test the very foundations of physics. One such experiment is the famous double-slit experiment, which shows how particles of light or matter behave differently depending on whether they are observed. When no one is watching, they spread out like waves, but when they are observed, they choose to act like particles. This may seem impossible, but science tells us the act of observation alters what happens. Now, turn your attention to what this means. Wheeler called this idea the participatory universe. He believed that the act of observing not only influences what happens at the microscopic level, but that the very existence of the universe is shaped by the interaction between it and its conscious observers. But this isn't just about physics, it's about you. Think about what this theory implies. You are not merely a passive piece in a pre-existing universe. You are an active participant, a co-creator. Doesn't this make you wonder, who am I really? In the first few seconds of reading this, your mind has already begun trying to organize these ideas, because human nature seeks meaning in everything we experience. And this is where Wheeler's thought begins to work its magic. Reality, as you know it, is not something fixed or defined. It is something in constant construction, molded by your perception, choices, and interactions. But if reality is so shaped by the observer, who is the observer? This question brings us to the core of our identity. If the universe needs you to exist, to what extent are you an intrinsic part of that creation? Are you just a consciousness interpreting something external? Or are you something greater, something inseparable from this participatory cosmos? As we dive deeper into Wheeler's theory, you'll realize that this is not just a scientific question. It is a question that strikes at the heart of our existence. What does it mean to be human in a universe that relies on us to exist? This reflection opens a range of possibilities far beyond what we learn in physics classes or everyday philosophical discussions. The idea that we are co-creators of reality challenges everything we believed about our place in the cosmos, and this leads us to the next essential question. If the universe is participatory, who are we really? If the universe depends on the observer to exist, then who is the observer? Who are we really? Since birth, we grow up with a fixed idea of identity. You are taught to believe that you are an individual, an isolated consciousness navigating an external and independent universe. But what if that idea is just part of a convenient illusion? John Wheeler was not just a physicist, he was a provocateur of ideas. For him, our perception of identity was part of something much greater, something that transcends the notion of I. He believed that by participating in the universe, we become an intrinsic part of it, inseparable from its essence. This view directly challenges the traditional idea that the universe is a stage, and we are mere spectators. Imagine the following. You are standing in front of a mirror. The image you see is a reflection of your appearance, but it is not you. Similarly, Wheeler suggests that the reality we perceive is a reflection of our interaction with the universe. What we call reality does not exist independently. It is directly linked to how we observe it, how we perceive it. But this raises an even deeper question. Where does the universe end and I begin? When you observe the world around you, are you perceiving something external or simply interpreting information that your mind organizes as reality? Quantum physics has already shown us that at the subatomic level things are not as they seem. Particles can be in two places at the same time, and their location is only defined when observed. This is not some distant mystery. It is a direct reflection of how your consciousness shapes what you call real. Now, apply that idea to your daily life. Every choice you make, every decision you take, is like a small quantum experiment. When you decide to look one way rather than another, when you choose to follow one path instead of another, you are not just shaping your personal destiny. You are shaping the very structure of the reality around you. This makes you wonder, to what extent am I an individual consciousness? Perhaps we are more than interpreters of a pre-existing universe. Maybe we are active creators, a universal consciousness expressed in multiple forms. Here, the question of identity becomes a paradox. If you are part of the universe, and the universe depends on you to exist, where is the boundary between you and everything around you? Is the separation we feel merely a mental construct? Is the idea of I a concept created to help us navigate a universe that, in fact, is intrinsically connected? Wheeler believed that we are not just passive observers, but participants in a constant process of creation. This view is not just philosophical but practical. Think of all the decisions you made last week. Each choice shaped not only your perception of reality, but the very reality you experienced. As we dive into this reflection, a truth begins to emerge. You are not who you think you are. You are not an isolated individual in an indifferent universe. You are an essential piece of a larger whole, an active creator in an interconnected cosmos. And if that is true, how does it redefine the way we view life and death? If we are intrinsic parts of a participatory universe, what happens when we cease to exist in a physical form? This is where we enter even more fascinating territory, the relationship between life, death, and the mystery of consciousness. If the universe depends on you to exist, what happens when you stop observing? This is a question that echoes through all reflections on life and death. Traditionally, we think of death as a period, the end of our physical existence. But what if it's not that simple? John Wheeler believed that life and death were more than biological processes. For him, these events were part of a much larger cycle, something that involved not only the physical body, but also the interaction between consciousness and the cosmos. From this perspective, death can be seen as a transformation, not as an absolute end. Consider this: if you are an active participant in the creation of reality, this means your consciousness is a vital part of the process. But what happens when that consciousness is no longer connected to a physical body? Does it disappear, or does it simply reintegrate into the cosmic fabric of which it has always been a part? Some scientific and philosophical ideas offer clues to this mystery. For example, in quantum physics, information is never lost. Even if a particle disappears from one place, its effects and traces remain elsewhere. This suggests that even when something seems to cease to exist, it is still present in some form in the universe. This concept resonates deeply with what many cultures and spiritual traditions believe, that death is a transition and not the end of the journey. Wheeler, despite being a scientist, raises questions that bring us closer to these reflections. He proposes that the interaction between consciousness and the cosmos continues, even beyond physical life. And what does that mean for you? Consider how you experience the memory of someone who has passed away. Although the person is no longer physically present, their actions, words, and impact remain. This is not just an emotional recollection. It is evidence that existence transcends the physical. The person continues participating in your reality in subtle, yet profound ways. Now, return to the paradox of the participatory universe. If reality is shaped by the interaction between the observer and the cosmos, then the death of an observer does not mean the end of reality, but perhaps a change in how that interaction occurs. Perhaps consciousness, instead of disappearing, transforms, connecting in ways we do not yet fully understand. This idea doesn't need to be merely philosophical or metaphysical. It can be practical and inspiring. Think about how you live your life knowing that your existence is intertwined with the cosmos. Every choice you make, every action you take, reverberates in the universe in ways you may never notice. And even after death, these actions continue to shape the world, continuing to participate in the construction of reality. This view challenges the common fear of death, transforming it into an event of continuity and connection. If consciousness is an essential part of the universe, then it does not vanish. It simply changes form, finding new ways to interact with the cosmos. And so, the question transforms. If life and death are just two sides of the same coin, what does that mean for the way we live? Are we underestimating the impact our consciousness has on the universe around us? Are we living in alignment with our role as co-creators? These questions lead us to an even deeper point, the relationship between consciousness and the cosmos. If the interaction between the two is so fundamental, how does that redefine our understanding of the universe and existence itself? If consciousness is fundamental to the existence of the universe, what exactly is its relationship with the cosmos? For John Wheeler, this question was central. He saw consciousness not as something isolated, but as an integrated and indispensable part of the universe's structure. This idea, although complex, reveals something deeply simple. You are more than you think you are. Think of the universe as a vast web where each thread is connected. Consciousness is the thread that weaves all things together, creating meaning, perception, and reality. Without it, the cosmos would be a vast emptiness of formless possibilities. Wheeler believed that consciousness was not an accidental phenomenon. It was essential to the functioning of the universe. Here's the most fascinating point: the idea that your mind is not just interpreting the universe, but literally constructing it. This means that the reality you experience is unique, a direct reflection of the interaction between you and the cosmos. When you observe the world around you, your perception is not passive, it is creative. Many scientists and philosophers have tried to unravel this relationship between consciousness and the universe. Some theorize that consciousness is a field that permeates all of reality, similar to forces like gravity. Others believe that it is the result of the interaction between the universe's fundamental particles. Wheeler, however, went further. He suggested that consciousness might be the key to understanding why the universe exists in the first place. This thought leads us to a practical reflection. If your consciousness is an integral part of the cosmos, what does that mean for your life? Think of all the times you've felt connected to something greater, whether admiring the vastness of the night sky or experiencing a moment of deep intuition. These moments are not mere coincidences. They are evidence that your mind and the universe are intertwined. There's also something profoundly human in this relationship. The idea that we are connected to the cosmos reminds us that we are not alone. Every thought, every emotion, and every choice we make reverberates in this cosmic web, creating an impact that goes beyond what we can measure or understand. John Wheeler invites us to reimagine our existence. Instead of seeing ourselves as separate individuals, we can see ourselves as manifestations of something greater. Consciousness is the bridge that connects the individual microcosm to the macrocosm of the universe. This idea may seem abstract, but its implications are incredibly practical. For example, if your actions and thoughts shape the reality around you, that means you have an active role in creating the world you live in. Wheeler teaches us that consciousness is not just a state of being, it is an act of creation. Every choice you make, every thought you cultivate, is a direct contribution to the universe. But how does this connection manifest in everyday life? Think about synchronicities, those moments when seemingly random events align in a meaningful way. These phenomena can be seen as signs of this intrinsic relationship between your consciousness and the cosmos. They remind us that no matter how vast the universe seems, it responds to our intentions and perceptions. This continuous interaction between consciousness and the cosmos redefines what it means to exist. We are not just beings living in a universe. We are participants in an eternal process of creation, where each moment is an opportunity to shape reality in ways that go far beyond ourselves. And here the reflection reaches its peak. If consciousness is essential to the cosmos, then the mystery of the universe is not something external. It is within us, waiting to be explored and understood. Now, one question remains. If consciousness and the cosmos are so intrinsically linked, what does that reveal about the purpose of existence? Perhaps the answer lies at the heart of what we are, an essential piece in an infinite universe. Throughout this journey, we have explored how you, the observer, are an indispensable part of the universe. We reflected on how your consciousness shapes reality, how life and death become continuous interactions with the cosmos, and how you are not just a piece of the puzzle, but the very act of assembling the universe. But in the end, everything converges to a single question: what is the purpose of it all? John Wheeler never offered a definitive answer, but his theory of the participatory universe suggests something extraordinary. The mystery of the universe is, essentially, the mystery of ourselves. In other words, the purpose might not lie somewhere distant, hidden in the depths of the cosmos, but in our own consciousness and in how we interact with reality. Imagine for a moment that life is like a mirror. What you see reflected is not only a representation of the world around you, but also of who you are. Your choices, thoughts, and intentions project meanings into the universe, and it, in turn, returns an experience that is as unique as your own consciousness. In this sense, purpose is not something we find, but something we create. And here's the most powerful part: if the universe is participatory, each of us has an irreplaceable role to play. There are no two identical consciousnesses, and that means your perspective, your existence, is absolutely unique in the cosmos. This uniqueness is not a limitation, but a strength. Wheeler reminds us that the universe is infinite in possibilities. No matter how much we explore, there will always be something more to discover, not because the cosmos is incomplete, but because it is continuously shaped by our interaction with it. Your own search for meaning adds new layers to the mystery of existence. And what about death? If life is a cycle of creation and recreation, then death is not the end, but a transition to another form of interaction with the cosmos. Think of a star that explodes in a supernova. Although it ceases to exist in its original form, its matter and energy continue to shape the universe. Similarly, our consciousness, as part of this cosmic web, may never completely disappear, but find new ways to participate. This perspective changes everything. Instead of fearing the unknown, we are invited to embrace the mystery. We don't need to have all the answers. The act of questioning, of exploring, is itself part of the purpose. Every thought you have, every connection you make, is an act of creation that contributes to the universe as a whole. However, this responsibility also brings a challenge. If the universe is shaped by our perception, how are we choosing to perceive it? Are we living consciously, honoring our role as participants in the cosmos? Or are we trapped in illusions that limit our potential to create and experience something grand? In the end, the truth is as simple as it is profound. You are not who you think you are. You are more than an individual navigating an indifferent universe. You are a unique consciousness, an essential part of a participatory cosmos where each moment is an opportunity to create, shape, and discover. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. The universe is not a place you explore from the outside in. It is something you build from the inside out. With each step you take, you are not just walking through the cosmos. You are expanding your own understanding of who you are and what it means to exist. Wheeler's message invites us to live with purpose, to see beyond the superficial, and to actively participate in this great mystery that is life. Because, ultimately, the mystery of the universe and the mystery of our existence are not two separate enigmas, but one powerful truth waiting to be unraveled. What will you do with this truth? What does it mean to know that you are not just a spectator, but a creator? The cosmos is waiting, and it needs you to exist.